there are a lot of case studies, a lot of group projects, and sometimes you can just say it's cool going from one group meeting to another group meeting. It's very, very overwhelming with the amount of work you have to do and amount of people that you have to deal with.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Immigrant. If it's your first time, my name is Sagar, and here you get to know about different career options from the students and professionals who share their experience with those of you who are planning to study or work in Canada. In today's video, we have Mika. She got her MBA from Thompson Rivers University, and in conversation with her, we'll talk about why she chose MBA over diploma, the admission requirements for an MBA program, total fees, how student life in a small city, and there are a few other important topics. So make sure you watch it till the end. There's a lot covered in this video. With that being said, let's begin. Hi Mika, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining in.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Likewise. So to begin with, if you can introduce yourself to our viewers, just a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I can tell you a little bit about my background and my education. So I got my undergrad degree in business management in Moscow, Russia, and then I moved here in September 2017 for my MBA studies. And then I graduated and I moved to Toronto last year. And before I decided to move to Toronto, I worked for a boutique consulting company as an assistant for a year. And since then, since I moved here to Toronto, I've been freelancing on a couple of projects.
Perfect. So my first question is, what was the reason for you to take an MBA instead of post-graduation diploma like PGDM?
So personally, for me, I was going for a degree instead of a diploma, because if I were investing into education, I really wanted it to be a degree, but it's just for me personally. And secondly, with an MBA, there are more opportunities while you are still a student. So there are many resources, competitions, advantages that you get that are available specifically for the MBA students.
So Mika, I'm pretty sure you must have done a lot of research scrolling through different options, surfing through different universities. So how did you end up getting into Thompson Rivers University?
Of course, I did a lot of research while I was choosing the school I was going to go for. And first of all, how I chose that is I looked into all their website, obviously, all students do that. And I also followed their social media that showed a really, really good student life of how student life looks like at the school. So some of the reasons why I chose TRU was, firstly, it's the lower admission fees. And also because I live in a big city my whole life, I wanted the experience of living in a smaller city. And TRU is based in a smaller city, but it's not too far from Vancouver. And you get the experience of deep diving into the student life without too many distractions, because you live in a small city and you just go to school. And also comparing to the other MBA program, it is more flexible at TRU. You get to work part-time while studying and gain work experience, and more specifically Canadian work experience, which is very important for a lot of international students.
My second question is, if you can give us an overview of the admission requirements. I know it's different for each university, each program, but from your experience, if you still remember, just the basic, requirements for the international students if they're planning to take an MBA.
It's been a while, but I think the main things that I remember that are important usually for the MBA program requirements are, firstly, IELTS. And it's not just a general score that usually is the requirement, but for MBA, usually for IELTS, each band score should be at least 7. And then you gotta have a GMAT and 2 years of work experience. It's usually very common for an MBA program. But specifically for TRU, the school that I went to, they didn't require GMAT or work experience. And as I have mentioned, that school offers a very flexible schedule so that students get to work while studying. And it is very helpful because you not only get the work experience, but also it helps to cover some of expenses because education is not cheap.
So taking from that point, education is not cheap. If you can tell us an estimate of the fees, how much one can expect?
I would say MBA varies a lot, depends on the school you go to. So if at TRU it was around 40,000 maybe, then it can range to even 100,000 if you go to a bigger school.
And if you can tell us about the different subjects, different courses that you get to learn in a general MBA.
Some of the courses are supply chain management, accounting, finance, marketing. So the range is very, very broad, and there are so many subjects that help you to understand the whole, like all the aspects of business, which I think is very important because no matter which industry you work in, if you understand a bigger picture, you will do better in your specific field, especially nowadays that everything is so volatile. And with the MBA program, in the last 1 or 2 semesters, you have an option to narrow down to what you want to do specifically. And I'm here, of course, I'm here speaking more on at TRU, where I went to study for. So, for example, whether you want to be have expertise in marketing or finance, let's say marketing, you can have a project. Let's say you go and offer a company to do the marketing campaign for them as your project, and you work on building that practical expertise while you're still in school. So that's how you learn to do something more practically than just the studies curriculum.
Right, and you can always use that on your resume, right? Which will definitely help you to land a job. Perfect. And any certification, any softwares, any particular skills that is included in the curriculum, if you still remember?
I wouldn't say that certifications are included in the programs, but it would be the extracurricular work that I really encourage students to do. So there are great case competitions offered for MBA students, and by participating, not only you solve real life problems, case problems, but you might also meet your future employer.
Right. And did you ever find it challenging in any aspect? Like, was there a time when you thought, oh my God, what I got myself into? Did you find it hard in any way?
That's a good question. It really based on the semester and the subjects you take, I guess, because sometimes the MBA program is very, very overwhelming. But if you plan time ahead and think ahead, it should be fine. It's just there are a lot of case studies, a lot of group projects, and sometimes you can just stay at school going from one group meeting to another group meeting. It's very, very overwhelming with the amount of work you have to do and amount of people that you have to deal with. So it's really just that part. But if you manage your time well, it should be fine.
And do you think, can you manage it with your part-time work as well if you have a part-time job?
I can speak for me personally, I could manage that. And especially if you study at TRU, as I mentioned, because it's like flexible, you get more kind of room to work and study. But I know that my other friends that study with an MBA in other schools, they sometimes say that it's too much to work part-time. Let's say if you go to a University of Toronto to get an MBA, or you go to University of British Columbia to get your MBA, it might be a little bit challenging to study and work at the same time.
So this question is a very common question that I get on my other videos that I have for different programs, and it kind of makes sense because, you know, after all, everything boils down to the career, the future of the education path we take here, right? So according to you, from your experience in your particular case, what do you think is the scope of MBA in Canada?
So there are plenty of opportunities out there available. It doesn't matter if you're an MBA or not an MBA, but just having an MBA usually behind your name is great. But nowadays, it's not important. It's so important to bring your specific experience on the table. So I've talked to many of my fellow MBAs, people that have been in the industry for many years. And for many of them, the degree itself was not a factor, was not a main factor, or it's not the main factor for your employment or for your career growth. But what does MBA help with, though, is that it connects you with the right people. So you build a very good network with people within your program. and outside of it as well, because people that are taking classes with you, usually they have different backgrounds than you. So for example, for me, I had my bachelor in business, but a lot of my classmates had backgrounds in engineering, in medical field. And then when you solve the problem together, you start learning how to see the problem and the solutions from different perspectives. And that is the learning that you get while being in the MBA.
And do you think that I don't know if it's a misconception or whatever you call it, but there's still a lot of people who think that having an MBA, as you mentioned, behind your name, is this an added advantage to your overall professional value or your resume? Do you think that the recruiters, they mainly look for MBA in order to get your job?
From my experience so far, talking to many people in the industry and just knowing my fellow classmates and myself as well, I think it's not as important as people would think it is, especially just nowadays, because it's not that hard to get an MBA degree. But at the same time, with an MBA though, you show that you have that diligent work that you can do. You can do the work because you work with so many people, and then you build a good network of people. So if you ask me if it's worth it or not, I would say it does, but it really depends on what it is that you're looking for.
No, definitely. And even that's what I believe, and that's what I always say, that getting your education, getting your degree, whatever it could be, but in order to get a job, there are actually a lot of factors, right? First, the basic thing is your communication. If you're not able to communicate your knowledge during an interview or to the other person, again, there is no point of having an MBA or whether it would be PhD, right? So there are actually a lot of factors which contributes to get you a job. So Mika, from your experience, what advice would you like to give to the international students or the prospective immigrants who are planning to move to Canada?
So I would give a couple of advice actually. First of all, think ahead of time. I would suggest looking into the positions that you would like to apply for in the future or something that you are interested in right now, and stress not only on the must-have experiences. So if you look at the job posting, it's going to have responsibilities and then requirements and must-have experiences and preferred to have kind of thing, right? So usually people tend to scroll down and just look at, well, I have this experience that they require, but they don't stress on the responsibilities in the job posting, which is actually very important, especially nowadays when the job market is more or less volatile and people are looking for a person to come in and be able to do the job right away instead of spending too much time to train them. So if you stress on the responsibilities part and try to do the work while you're still at school that could fit those responsibilities, then you can bring to the table much more than if you just work on the curriculum that the school offers you. So the second is, of course, don't just rely on the program curriculum. Go out, explore different conferences, networking events, participate in competitions, because I guess at the end of the day, it's not only what you know, but most importantly, who you know.
Alright guys, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. You can reach out to Mika on LinkedIn. The link is in the description down below. Do subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I wish you guys all the best. Stay safe, stay strong, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi Mika, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining in.
Okay, stop. It's Mika. It's Mika.
Oh my god. So Mika, I'm pretty sure you must have done a lot of research. Scroll. Oh, sorry,
It's Mika.
sorry. So Mika, Mika. Mika. So Mika, from your experience, Mika, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mika.